Thank you very much. I'm very honored, humbled, and privileged to be here. And yes, I am on Facebook, Angel Mullane, but I'm also Chaplain Mullane. And I am a disciple of Jesus Christ, and I serve God by serving you. Today, I'm going to read from my book, Poetry with a Purpose, which I don't know if you can see it. And the poem that I'm going to read is about a young woman who was murdered for refusing the advances of someone that made inappropriate advances to her. So this is a tribute to Dominique, and it leads into my next book, my next work. I wanted to commit suicide again, but I didn't. This is titled Tribute to Dominique. Suicide. I woke up this morning. I did not really want to die. Been there before, but I was tired and sick and tired of being tired. Going to bed tired, waking up tired. The other night, pain pierced my heavy heart. Already estranged from my own offspring, my wounded heart began to bleed for a sister mom friend of mine. Last time we were together at my house, we were laughing and talking about the joys and sorrows of our own adult lives, yet feeling good and proud of the job yet unfinished we'd done for training up in the way they should go. Us moms were in my bedroom talking mom womanly things and having been faithful, obedient daughters of Father God, even when we tripped through it all and over our own feet. Only a wall away from our progeny, beautiful young ladies and one man child, celebrating their anticipation of emancipation from high school and us. Who knew then this would be the last time we would all share space and time this side of life, celebrating love, celebrating living, bonding in the oneness that brought us all together, God. This morning, like so many times before, I cried when I woke up. I wanted to commit suicide. I wanted to die and give up my life for someone else to live. Nothing is sacred anymore. Not life, not marriage, not children, not God. My sister mom friend mourns the tragic loss of a well-entrusted jewel to her by Father God and taken away by sinister Satan and Sister Death. Like so many of us, she did her job sacrificially, without pay, often without sleep, and never complaining of the broken promises and shattered dreams she lived in her life when all else failed but God. Now we mourn a life of beauty and promise so unfulfilled. Many times in my mind, I chase the last time like a rewound video. We were all together. I want to stop the world and get off, yet I realize suicide is not the answer. I leave you to examine thought and God and universe. What can you and I do differently that suicide and murder are not options? So when I wake up tomorrow, I will really want to live, and I will live. God, I, and you will make a difference. Thank you.
Wow. Awesome.
Thank
Oh my
you.
goodness. Thank
Humble
you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Humble thanks.
Thank you. What is it that we can do that suicide and murder is not an option? Beautiful, very beautiful. Do we have any questions for Angel Melaine? Comments? Yeah, I see there are comments coming through in the chat.
I don't have any.
Yes, Tashin?
But I do have a comment. Is all I can say is I agree. I totally understand that this is a truth, and I agree.
Yeah. It was a beautiful poem. Thank you so much for sharing that. One thing I wanted to ask is that with the work that I do, I work a lot with teenage girls, especially around that age of 14, 15 when they get their first period. And I'm noticing now that most of the girls that are coming to see me are quite suicidal. There's a huge issue now with social media and not feeling connected and all of those things. And I wanted to ask you, what would be one great advice that you could give someone who is suicidal, that, yeah, something that you've experienced that took you from that path to the path that you went on? What was it that helped you shift?
A couple of things. For me personally, the first thing is my relationship with God. It's not about religion, it's about relationship for me. Secondly, I think people need to understand they want to associate suicide with attention, and suicide is not about attention. Suicide is about pain and ending the pain. Most people think that whatever they're going through, they just want to stop the pain. And sadly, because of the stigma that's on mental health and mental health issues, they're afraid and fearful, unsure. There's not enough resources of how to reach out for help to stop the pain. So in their unhealthy mind, they think that the only solution is to end their life. Whereas if they were to get help, I also have a healing and deliverance, a sacred arts healing and deliverance ministry. So I work in, like yourself, healing, but deliverance. And that's what I would say. And then the last thing, what I tell my teenagers is, you can't be obedient and disobedient at the same time. Obedience and disobedience produces conflict, which then produces self-conflict. So I always tell them, you never want to try to put yourself in a situation where you don't have a choice. Because when you feel like you don't have a choice, you don't have hope. And when you feel like you don't have hope, you want to give up. So those are the three things that personally I use. I call them my personal codes of ethics. When young people walk in conflictedness and it produces double-mindedness. So that's why usually when I say to them, you cannot be obedient and disobedient at the same time, you cannot be a friend and an enemy at the same time, that kind of grabs their attention, because then they're like, wow, I never thought about it like that. And then I do a lot of one-on-one work, but I begin to understand their pain. And in understanding their pain, then I try to help them transform that pain and be empowered so that they diminish and get rid of the pain. But suicide is not about getting attention. I think that the people that have committed suicide and have been successful in committing suicide, had they had someone else to help them stop their pain, they'd still be here. But because no one understood that it was pain, a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old being bullied that can't stop the pain, a teenager that's been bullied that can't stop the pain, a person in their 20s to 30s that feels like a failure because they don't understand the universe and the world, they can't stop the pain. Robin Williams made everybody laugh but himself because he was in pain and nobody understood that. So that's kind of where I come from. And I try to tell people that it's not about attention. It's not you got to understand it. And you've got to be able to be compassionate and loving. And you have to have patience. and patience and more patience. A lot of I know a woman that says, I don't get depression. I don't get suicide. I just don't get it. She had a wonderful life. She had wonderful parents. She had a wonderful nuclear family. So it's hard for her to relate. And she thinks it's something that, like depression, you should be able to snap out of it. Why can't you just get over it? It's about pain. And until we understand pain, until we start respecting unconditionally and loving everybody, we're all the same. Get over this black, white, we're human beings. And until we get back to that, you cut me, I bleed, I cut you, you bleed. Blood is red. That's what I tell people. Blood is red and urine is yellow, and we won't talk about doo-doo. It's all the same. It's all the same. But we gotta love one another. We gotta love one another more. If you're hurting, I'm hurting. But it's about pain. Suicide is about pain.